Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about what I think is the most unpredictable zodiac sign. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Well, first thing off is as far as Aries goes, well, Aries is very single-minded. They're very focused, even though they are impatient. They will initiate projects very quickly. They start off with their single-minded focus, but sometimes they don't finish everything they start. But it doesn't mean that they're unpredictable, because they still have a lot of single-minded energy, and they are not ones to really, as far as like any behavioral pattern to really deviate that much from who they are. And it's just not a sign to me that I would see as the most unpredictable. They pretty much, Aries is fairly plain. They can get infuriated, provoke very easily. They forgive and forget quickly. I mean, that is really like a life motto for them. I think I don't see Aries most unpredictable. Now, going to Taurus, Taurus may unequivocally be the least unpredictable sign. They're very stable, steady, and persistent. They are very plodding and methodical nature. They're often very loyal and steadfast friends. As many of you may know, I have a Taurus rising. I'm very predictable in my routine. Taurus is often about routine. Yes, the sixth house in astrology is the daily routine, and it would correspond with Virgo, but Taurus is still very much about their routine. It's ingrained in their nature. They don't generally deviate from what they do day to day. I think it could very well be the most predictable of the zodiac signs. Taurus can be seen as downright monotonous, so I don't really see Taurus being the most unpredictable sign. Gemini is certainly a viable candidate, because Gemini is really, they deviate a lot from who they are day to day. I mean, they are very unpredictable. They have a vacillating mercurial nature. Gemini's unpredictability, a lot of it has to do with the fact that they have changes of mind about things. Sometimes it's actually attributed to smarter thinking on a certain issue, actually. But what it is that they are very contradictory. They sometimes they'll even live both sides of an issue. I mean, that's just how Gemini can be. Their unpredictability seems to lie in, they're just kind of pop up unexpectedly. They can often be like what I see as intermittent friends. They are ones that will come and go at their leisure. They don't feel like it's malicious, but other people may see it like that. But they're unpredictable nature. In fact, they can go one way on an issue, then another way the next moment, can make them a candidate to be the most unpredictable zodiac sign. But I'll tell you at the end of the video whether I think they are or not. Now, going to Cancer. Well, Cancer can have some, their qualifications or credentials, so to speak, of being the most unpredictable zodiac sign. They're very temperamental and moody. Their emotions can change very quickly, but Cancer can also be a very strong creature of habit. Now, Cancer, I know, is not a fixed sign. It's a cardinal sign, of course, but they are ones that often will not, they have difficulty going out of their comfort zone. Cancer is very introverted. They stay to themselves, and them, like Taurus, can be the two hermits of the zodiac. If there was the sign that was connected with that, I would say would be connected with those two. Yes, Saturn is stated to rule hermits, but I think it's even more associated with Cancer and Taurus. And Cancer really, dominated by their home life, their introversion, their family. To me, it's not one that they have a lot of tenacity, and I wouldn't see them as quite the most unpredictable. They might be close, but I think they're going to fall a little short. But anyway, going to Leo. Well, Leo, of course, is very dignified. They're very magnanimous and generous. Leo, I don't really think they're the most unpredictable signs. Fire signs can be somewhat temperamental. Yeah, Leo can have a very ferocious temper, but they forgive and forget, just like Aries, except Leo's roar is a little bit louder, and Aries is provoked a little bit quicker. than Leo. Leo can be very dignified, again, have a lot of pride. I think we understand Leo fairly well. They're about, they're getting their attention, and they're very charismatic and magnanimous and generous. They often like to be the life of a party or a situation, can be very loud and boisterous. We pretty much understand Leo's motto, and they're not really about being unpredictable. They're very extroverted. We know how they're going to act generally in most, I'd say most cases, at least day to day. So I don't think they're the most unpredictable of the zodiac signs. Now going to Virgo, again, Virgo is very much like Taurus about their routine. Virgo can be counted on to be very punctual, be very reliable and steady. They often are very reliable employees. They're the ones often about the good behavior, being scrupulous and working within what they're doing, what they're supposed to do, not deviating from what's right on the job. Basically, they're often very ethical people, and they want to just sometimes some people might see them as the goody two shoes of the zodiac, so to speak, but they're not ones to really deviate much from what they do. They're a mutable sign. Yes, they're very adaptable, but being Earth, they're not. To me, it's not. They still can be very steady and consistent. I don't see Virgo as being. They're often very worrisome, and we understand how Virgos can be. Sometimes they're germophobic, even if that is still actually classified as that. If that is the word I'm using, if that's the correct word I'm using, it might be another word now. But you understand what I'm saying. They're often neat freaks. They often want everything immaculate, meticulous, and what have you. But the most unpredictable, I would say, no. Now going to Libra, well, Libra can often be, Libra being an air sign, they have certain unpredictability in them. Libra is very sociable. They often, if a relationship doesn't suit them well, they might go to another because quicker than a lot of other signs, because they're very relationship oriented. They might be a little bit more calculating, I think, than the other two air signs, Gemini and Aquarius. They are ones that are Libra can be very refined. They're about their beauty, they're about being attractive, and they gravitate often toward the arts. I don't really see Libra is very even-tempered, and for me, it's just hard for me to see them being the most unpredictable of the zodiac signs. They generally don't let extraneous things affect them that much. They stay on an even keel and are very balanced people. So I don't think they're the most unpredictable. Now Scorpio can be somewhat of a candidate for this, even though it is a fixed sign, because Scorpio swings to extremes. They often, if they could be your staunch ally and supporter one moment, but if you do Scorpio wrong, of course they're notorious for being very vengeful and vindictive, and will just often either forget about you, or they'll be scorned and seek some kind of vengeance on you. See, the thing is, despite the extreme behavior, though, Scorpio is very fixed. They're one of the more flexible of the zodiac signs. And I think with Scorpio, even though they're very complex and mysterious, we understand that they're very secretive, that they're not going to really divulge much to us. They're very, they have a way, about them that we do, we understand, in the sense of, as far as predictability goes, in terms of how they're going to act. They're often very secretive, especially when you first meet them. But we know that if you understand Scorpio to some degree, we don't understand them completely because they're so complex and mysterious. But the thing about it is, the Scorpio general way of being is, after you get to know them, after a certain amount of time, they will open up to you, but they still won't divulge a lot about themselves. And I think we pretty much understand what Scorpio is about. And they're often about their power and control, and there's really not much deviation as far as that goes. They also often, in a negative manifestation, can have a perpetual manipulative side. And I've seen this in action with some Scorpio people. So anyway, so I wouldn't think they're the most unpredictable. Now going with Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius, can be some candidate for this because they can be very flighty, and they're a mutable sign, and fire signs can be temperamental, and the fact that Sagittarius can be very restless, very flighty. They'll often, if somebody Yeah, I mean, I had a situation with a Sagittarius sun friend one time that basically did everything but stop hanging out with me because he stated that he thought me that basically had stated me that he liked his other friends better than me. And a Scorpio, I'm sorry, Sagittarius could be very blunt, very harsh to the point of demoralizing people sometimes. But we understand what they're about. They're straight shooters. When I say straight shooters, they speak the veritable truth, their veritable truth. But they do have a tendency to take off on occasion, and they will, if they get tired or bored of a person or situation, they might even go to another country or meander away. They just don't want to be physically pinned down. But I think we do understand, as far as Sagittarius. I mean, that's the main thing about them is that their unpredictability can lie in terms of whether they stay with a situation for a time or a location for any period. And sometimes they'll just take off on a hat or on a fly, so to speak. But other than that, I don't see them as really being overly unpredictable. But Sagittarius is very jocular and jovial. They're the incorrigible optimist, but not the. I don't think they're the most unpredictable, but with the zodiac signs. But anyway, next sign I'll talk about is Capricorn. Well, Capricorn is really, I mean, they're very much like Taurus because Capricorn can be very consistent in their personality, don't have much deviation one day to the next. They are ones that are very ambitious. They're very orthodox and conventional. They're not going to do things that are overly outrageous or outlandish. They're the ones that will, they're about the tried and the true. The conservatives, very conservative in their nature and very prudent. They're often, people can see that they're very premeditative and have a lot of discipline. They're not overly loquacious, and they don't really change that much from who they are day to day. Don Shula, renowned former NFL football coach, many people saw him as being very consistent, and sure enough, he has his son in Capricorn. So, to me, it's not one that I would see deviating much from who they are. They're a very consistent personality, and I don't think Capricorn is the most unpredictable zodiac sign. Now, I'll tell you one viable candidate for the most unpredictable zodiac sign is Aquarius, because Aquarius is, ruled by Uranus. They're very, this planet of unpredictability, so they're definitely a good candidate for this. Aquarius often won't even know what they're going to do in a crisis situation. They are an air sign, and the air, air can be moving, the wind can be blowing one way and then another direction. Aquarius can be very erratic and sporadic as well, despite being a fixed sign. They have a lot of unpredictable, unusual energy. But I'll tell you at the end of the video whether I think it's them or not. Now, Pisces. Well, Pisces can certainly be a candidate. They're very ambiguous, and they have, the theory on Pisces, and I concur with this and subscribe to this theory, is that they're the amalgamation of the previous 11 zodiac signs, and they're just going in so many different directions. But Pisces is very, we understand that they're very, they can be very reclusive. They're very introverted, like Cancer. Pisces will often try to escape the harsh realities of the world. I think we understand what Pisces is about. Their passive nature, their timid, the fact they could be somewhat timid, and that they blend in with with varied company. We kind of understand, I think, how they are that way, very malleable. They can certainly qualify being the most unpredictable of the signs because they're like, I see them as the amalgamation of the previous 11, so they have a lot of different, natures in them and demeanors really in their nature. But the sign I do believe is the most unpredictable is Aquarius. I think they are they're very unusual, very unpredictable. The thing about Aquarius is that, you look at them, they will do the most outrageous, outlandish things of all the zodiac signs. Gemini has unpredictability in a way, but Gemini is mainly, it's more about doing one thing one moment and going the other direction the next, due to perhaps might be attributed to better sounder thoughts that they have in their mind on an issue. But what Aquarius does is they take their unpredictability to a different level, to, you know, more sometimes in an innovative or some creative form. I told, you know, it was one thing, like me, MacGyver, you know, the original MacGyver, Richard Dean Anderson's son in Aquarius, and you know, I've talked in previous videos how I do believe that you have these actors and actresses that seem to they seem to consciously, if not subconsciously, be in roles and scenes that correspond or correlate with their astrological energies. And you look at Richard Dean Anderson, I mean, he was constant using ingenuity, it's Aquarius energy, to extricate himself from predicaments, whether it's using a bunch of jugs and rope to set a trap up, or he used like a prism from a binoculars in one episode, I think, to deflect a laser, I mean, or something. You might want to look that up to confirm that. But the thing about it is, Aquarius, what they do, they actually topple Gemini in the unpredictability department, because it's not even just the general unpredictability in the nature like Gemini, but what it is it goes to more of an extreme level, given that they are ruled by Uranus, one of the rulers being Uranus, and the planet of ingenuity, unpredictability. I had an Aquarius rising friend one time take something was throwing it at some neighbor's house and was making it stick to the wall, get just as a way of combating what the neighbor had apparently done to him. And another Aquarius rising friend of mine, I've told you about this in other videos, some of you may have heard, some not, but one time I was, about 20 years ago, he was driving me around, and I was in the front passenger seat, and he just unpredictably, instead of going into the shopping center in the conventional route, which was through just like the front driveway or entrance or what have you, he just unpredictably drove up the grass hill to take a shortcut into the parking lot. And that kind of epitomizes what Aquarius behavior can be about, that you just don't know what they're going to do one moment to the next. It's very erratic and sporadic energy, and you just don't know how they're going to act. I had an Aquarius moon friend one time that got completely incensed and you know, broke a plate because I thought I was just basically constructively disagreeing with him on something. Now, he's also a double Leo sun and Ascendant in Leo, so I understand that Leo ferocity was coming out pretty strong as well, but you get the idea and understand what I'm talking about. Aquarius is really often about the unorthodox, the unconventional, and being very non-conforming. So that is why, I mean, that does play a role into why I believe they are the most unpredictable of the zodiac signs. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for what I believe is the most unpredictable of the zodiac signs. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.